Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This was the kind of a rehearsal of the applauses to each other. So let us once again give a hand to each other. So this is much better. I will say only two things, two messages, and immediately I will leave the podium. So we have gathered today in order to celebrate, to discuss, and to talk everything around dedicated to the 2 years of the WAVES platform. And the second thing I would like to say, I would like to invite the person thanks to whom WAVE platform was set up, Alexander Ivanov, the founder of the WAVES platform. Thank you so much, Paul. So I'm glad to see all of you here. So the 2 years anniversary in the crypto market, this is a kind of equivalent of 20 years, not little. And actually, I do not like presentations or lecturing. I like Q&A, so I'm going to tell you what we used to do, what we're doing, what we're going to do, and we'll proceed with the questions because I think there will be a lot of interesting statements and announcements. So let us remember what we have done over the last 2 years, what the crypto world did over the last 2 years, the world which emerged from nowhere, and the world which really changes everything around it. Because this is a kind of a thing which really changed, has already changed the world, and is going to change the world in future. So let us remember the beginning. Why today we are celebrating our anniversary, our birthday? Because on April 12th, 2 years ago, this is when ICO Waves was launched. It was at the time when ICO was a kind of interesting thing, because now this is a kind of a mundane thing. Everyone has done an ICO, but 2 years ago, no one knew about that, and it was fun. I do remember how it all happened 2 years ago. I was at a co-working meeting at Park Kultury. And overnight, actually, we collected about 1,000 bitcoins, and it was a very interesting experience. And more investors joined us, and the website collapsed, and no one knew about cryptocurrency at the time. It was a quite small community. But then it was clear for me, and immediately when I learned about Bitcoin, I knew that it will stay forever. It will not go anywhere because its potential is so eruptive. And the whole technology is changing the rules of the game. It's a game changer, and once you recognize that, you have no other choice but dealing with it. I started doing that 4 years ago. And Waves, this is a kind of a result of what I used to do before. There were more projects. And Waves is developing for 2 years, and we have achieved a lot. So let us remember some milestones which were there, so something to share, something to tell you. So let's get back there. Just a second. As you probably know, Waves, that's a platform which looks like Ethereum in terms of the functionality, but it is different in terms of the technology. It has nothing to do with Ethereum. And you may do ICOs, and very interesting ICOs were done, something we are proud of, and we differed from Ethereum that we had real sector ICOs, for instance, in the ICO of a steel mill or of a farm, agricultural farm. It was done at the Waves platform, and in 2018, I do think that this momentum will pick up. We are speaking about the real sector ICOs, Petra project, and a controversial one, but actually it played its role, and people from non-real sector, from the oil and gas sector, are thinking about launching tokens for the oil they have not produced yet. And it was a Mobile Go 50 million strong ICO. It used to be the strongest ICO ever. And I would like to praise Primal Base because it is connected to the location, and very soon you will understand why. Primal Base, this is a network of co-working which iconized access to co-working. And there are co-workings in London, in Berlin, in Amsterdam, and me and Dmitry are present there as offices. This is an ICO of Zircoin. which inspired many people to do some projects in the real sector. Not everything is a success, but still it was a hallmark ICO. For instance, a zirconium mill is being built in Magnitogorsk, and I'm sure that they will eventually build it. Out of something interesting, I may mention Burger King. It launched an ICO, and you could now use the tokens to buy a burger. Some of the hype projects, we have the basis or the foundation for all of that. We have a very serious technological insight, which is the essence of everything, because no doubt, actually, hype is typical of that market, but it should be supported by some real technology. So what do we have at the moment? This is really true, and what you see is really codified. We have the fastest blockchain ever, and many projects promise blockchains which are going to be faster, but ours is the fastest at the moment. We have 334,000 transactions a second, more than Ethereum may boast. This is due to the technologies which actually facilitate everything done on the blockchain. If you actually use Waves client and try to trade at the centralized exchange, you will feel the difference, because decentralized and centralized exchange are not different. Everything is very fast. We have about 330,000 transactions per day, which is quite good, and the number of transactions are going up every day. What else is so interesting out of the technological things? This is a decentralized exchange. This is the thing which actually is going to take more and more place where stake in the market, because everything is trading at the centralized market. But this is not natural, because you are trading decentralized things at a centralized market or exchange, and there is a contradiction which is going to be eliminated eventually. What else we have? We have a decentralized exchange which works for a year, and it is part of the Waves platform. And actually, once you install a client, you will see the decentralized exchange. Out of all the solutions present at the market, this is the fastest one, because it has some technological things or nuances which would take advantage of the decentralization features, such as the speed and centralized one. So you may immediately launch a token, and without listing at the exchange, you may do whatever you want. You may issue a token, and immediately it will be traded. This is good, and this is fun. What else is so interesting? From the Waves, you may operate the fiat currencies, dollars and euros, and this year we expect Russian ruble, some Asian currencies to join it. This is great, because we have a close socket with the cryptocurrencies in your wallet, and apart from that, you will see Ethereum, Litecoin, Zcash, and some fiat currencies too. We are supporting Turkish lira, euro, and United States dollars, and people from Turkey are present here. And this is true of the Waves. You may use Waves as a bank. It has the fiat currencies, it has the cryptocurrencies, and this is unique. This is our team, which is expanding eventually. I do think that we have outstanding developers. People come to us, they master blockchain. If a person is a good programmer, he has a certain thinking, then he would deep dive into blockchain ideas. Our team expands. We have more than 70 people, strong team, and this is only the beginning, because a lot will be done in 2018, and I'm going to tell you more about that. So what we're going to do in order to control the whole market to become a solution which will compete with Ethereum or be even more efficient. So what plans we have? At the moment, we have the plans to kind of optimize the algorithm, the consensus. This is a very important thing. And another important thing is to launch smart contracts based on the Waves, because what Waves lacks in order to become the leader in the market, this is the smart contracts. Smart contracts, this is a business logic which works on blockchain. Apart from simple operations or transactions, you need more complicated transactions. And Ethereum is the leader in the market because it offers very interesting scheme of smart contracts, which cannot be applied or be used in the real projects, but is very good for prototyping, but would like to issue smart projects which could be used for the real contracts. And we have a very unique scheme of smart contracts. The non-Turing smart contracts, they cannot do everything, but actually they can do 95% of what is available at Ethereum, and they're extremely cheap. Do not actually require any gas as Ethereum does, and covers all the cases as the Ethereum does. But this is not it. Once we launch this scheme of smart contracts, and it will be done in April, the testnet and the production, or the real system, will see that in July approximately, we will proceed to the Turing complete smart contracts. We'll set up a system which, in essence, will close all the things which can be done at the open type blockchain. For instance, there will be atomic swap, decentralized swap without the participation of the centralized part. In autumn, we'll have huge updates of the mobile client, multi-sig, and it will be done much earlier than in autumn. So a lot of interesting things you may anticipate. But apart from that, we are developing in the area of the traditional cryptocurrencies and blockchain. But now we have generated an understanding, and we are focusing on blockchain because this is interesting for the business. When businesses approach blockchain-based technologies, they realize that the technology is not applicable to the real sector of the economy, and new approaches are needed. That's why we're thinking about certain further development of waves to address the issues of the real sector, the technologies which may be used for the real sector right now. We're not going to wait for some breakthroughs in the cryptography or encrypting. If they do emerge, then probably we'll take advantage of that. We're going to set up a system which can be used for the real sector in the enterprise solutions. The public solutions right now, this would be a system which is going to somehow complement waves and to expand waves. I'd like to announce the launch of a new project, which I believe will totally change the ecosystem of blockchain and will bring it out of the niche segment to a bigger area when it could be used for bigger solutions for the B2B and B2G. Thank you so much. The details will be disclosed later, but what I may tell you outright is that this is a system which really will bring together everything which was in the open blockchain with the solutions which could be used in the real economy, in the real sector. It would be an ecosystem which is appropriate for everything, which could be used to do everything. It will be interesting as a technological solution, as an investment solution, an institutional solution. And it has a giant potential, and the name Vostok, or the East, means that we realize our Russian origin. We do not hide them, and we'll try to become an international project, but based in Moscow. This is clearly very important. This is the solution which may change everything. And naturally, Waves and Vostok, these are just like twin brothers. One is sponsoring the other one, so this is the open blockchain and closed blockchain, so they are supporting each other. So we understand the synergy which is going to drive both projects. Thank you so much. I'm ready to take all your questions. Thank you. Good evening, my name is Dennis. I have the following question. You say that the technology is not mature, is not ready. So the whole way consists of some ready-made functions which you actually switch on. So this is what blockchain lacks, some ready-made solutions, which, roughly speaking, could save up a lot of time just, for instance, to get an access to Sberbank or not. No, this is not like that. You cannot use blockchain in the systems which are mission-critical, so to say, because there is no guarantee that the data cannot be changed or altered. For instance, you cannot make any registers of the real estate, be it Waves or Ethereum or any other open blockchain, because there is no guarantee that this data would remain unaltered. Just there is no guarantee of that. So the technology is only at its infancy, only is being launched, and there are some centralized technologies, but which actually remain a blockchain. This is a Ripple kind of a solution, and Ripple actually covers only the banking transfers, and such solutions can be used really for some serious projects, such as registers, some payment projects, kind of SWIFT. So these things can be implemented based on that technologies, and some purists may say that this is not purely blockchain, but this is really a step forward, which is actually a really big leap for the mankind compared to the systems which existed before. Open blockchain still is looking forward to some breakthroughs, but the decentralized systems actually there is kind of centralization, and they may be used right now. This is what all the enterprise level projects would need. This is what all the public registers would need. So we are going to promote all the projects, the open blockchain and closed blockchain. Good evening, everyone. My name is Martin. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Waves on its 2-year birthday. That's just great. So my question is as follows. So what ICO market should expect this year or year and a half? What tendencies can we expect? ICO. Actually, it's kind of a venture business. In essence, it replicates the development of the venture industry. For instance, this is a kind of rounds of investments. We see the actually bonds between the venture investments and ICO. There will be some breakthroughs when the American regulators introduce certain rules for the equity tokens. It will change the market a little bit. What we see in the world, in Russia, for instance, there is a draft law on crowdfunding. If you read the text of the draft law, you will see that, in essence, people suggest to replace the IPO market with the ICO market. And this is a little bit science fiction, but if it happens, it will be very interesting. It will be just cool. So the next step at the ICO market will be equity token, when people will not just issue the utility tokens, but will issue shares or securities, and it will actually boost the whole market. Good afternoon. My name is Sasha. I am the founder of Button Wallet in Telegram crypto exchange. Sasha, I know that you are communicating to the public authorities on the regulation of the waves and cryptocurrencies. Can you share some insight when actually the government is going to regulate this market? And secondly, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the question. We are communicating to all the regulators who are accessible, because I do believe that this is very useful for the market, despite the fact that the cryptocurrencies potentially really may replace some public things, for instance, when you have public contracts, they may replace kind of regulations, and cryptocurrency actually depends on the regulation, on the control, and we have some clear rules of the game. It is very useful for the market. This is a mutual enrichment when blockchain, decentralization, cryptocurrencies are changing the effective legislation. And this is useful not only for the cryptocurrencies, but also for the effective legislation. This is equally important and useful for the existing social rules and laws. What insight I may share with you? So certainly there will be some regulation in the Russian Federation. The government will regulate this market. I'm not sure that actually a certain law would be adopted in June, so there's an instruction by Mr. Putin to adopt that in June. Probably it will happen a bit later, but something will be adopted. There are a lot of concepts at the moment where the people try to merge. There is a proposition from the Ministry of Finance, there is a proposition from the Central Bank of Russia. There are some amendments proposed for the civil code, some very good and right things proposed by respected lawyers, and actually time is running out to adopt something good. The system which has emerged in Russia is not optimal, is not very efficient, because people suggest that all the cryptocurrencies market should be based on the MySix, for instance, or the traditional exchange, meaning that the traditional exchange would be the platform for trading cryptocurrencies. It sounds very strange. We have to fine-tune it, but I don't think that in autumn the cryptocurrency law would be adopted. And what will be the stance of the waves on that issue? Will it be the leading platform or not? Certainly we are working in that direction, and we understand that we will need certain regulation. Apart from the fact that you cannot regulate all the functions, what the token is and how fiat works, how you may actually get to the real currencies. This is the same approach you use for the cryptocurrencies. There are certain departments, there are certain ministries which may do that, and that would be certainly very reasonable. There are certain departments and ministries and authorities which are regulating, which are controlling IT technologies, and they may do the same thing for blockchain platforms. Blockchain platforms will use these rules in order to regulate the ICO market. I don't think that the Russian Central Bank will regulate every and each ICO. This is totally unrealistic. These functions actually should be moved to the platforms, and the platforms will regulate the ICO market. I see that this is quite reasonable, and this is what we will end up with. And the waves will be one of the keynote players or stakeholders. So we cannot claim the monopoly or the dominant role, but will be one of the solutions to be used in the Russian market. Alexander? Congratulations, Sasha. Was just a cool presentation. Excellent project. You said today that smart contracts are going to be updated, that your blockchain is the fastest. I would like to mention the competitors. There is a universal blockchain which has tested 22,000 transactions per second. As concerns the smart contracts, there is Hyperledger Fabric with Linux Foundation. Universal have smart contracts, very cool ones, really smart ones, smart workflow, which allows to do a lot. So why you claim the leadership? Actually, because we have done it already, and it works on our platform for quite a while. So we wish every success to everyone. But out of the available solutions, we are the fastest. This is just the fact of life. Nothing to add. Come again? Cases. Cases of what? The question is off the mic. The translation will not be possible. Hyperledger, this is a closed system. This is what actually will be implemented within Vostok project, and Vostok actually will be #1 in this market. Because the story will be a real success. I have two questions. The first one. First, I would like to thank you for the presentation. Secondly, I'd like to thank you for the Waves product. My first question concerns decentralized organizations, the so-called DAO. So, how Waves is going to work with the decentralized organizations, and will Waves also follow the decentralization way? And so once you take this question, I will second the second one. Decentralized organizations, this is the future of many technologies, DAO. When you develop the smart contracts, so many systems will actually exist as decentralized organizations. But as for the decentralization from Waves, Waves, this is a fully decentralized system. Certain aspects, Waves is centralized. DEX, for instance, has centralized matching, which makes the training process faster, but actually Matcher did not cheat anyone, and you can confirm that and test that. So there's a combination of best of the two worlds, the centralized and decentralized ones. Centralization and decentralization, they have certain advantages and disadvantages. So when we speak about blockchain, we do not say that it will replace everything. It will be streamlining and harmonization of everything available. So the structures will be harmonized because of the decentralization. You have to combine best elements of the two worlds. So the systems should be controllable and quite sustainable, not vulnerable to any DDoS attacks or whatever you may imagine. This is what we're doing. I'm not a crypto-anarchist. I see it as a kind of a development of more efficient systems of social interaction. This is what blockchain is about. This is a more efficient social system. When you have a technological consensus replacing the social agreements, for instance, and this is got when we actually, for instance, move the social consensus into the laws of the nature. And I do think that we can speak about the full decentralization. This will not happen at our lifetime. Actually, we can speak only about more efficient, more transparent, and cheaper and simpler systems. Thank you so much for this question. My second question goes for the identification. So there are two paradigms. There is centralized and decentralized identification. So what do you think about that? And what's the attitude of Waves to these two issues? Thank you so much for your answer in advance. As for the identification, we have a number of projects being launched in Russia related to individual recognition, for instance, and identification. So first we have to come somewhere so that people see you and identify you and confirm that you are you, and full decentralization actually can be attained only once the artificial intelligence reaches new heights. Artificial intelligence, together with the blockchain, will allow us to identify you remotely. So, and artificial intelligence, this is our next step. My name is Oleg. Good evening. Congratulations on the occasion of that birthday. Two questions. First of all, very often you compare yourself with Ethereum, and actually lots of things in common, such as smart contracts. But Ethereum, within its quite short lifetime, actually experienced not only success, but also some failures, such as scalability, and other failures. So once the smart contracts are not there, based on the Waves, so there are no problems. But how are we going to address those problems which may jeopardize the whole blockchain? This is the first question. And second question. During the ICO, the Waves claimed itself as a platform for ICO, as the platform for tokens. And you say that ICO is of no surprise. So tokens are everywhere. How in future you are going to position yourself, the platform for what? I will start with the second question. We position ourselves as an open blockchain platform. We give an opportunity to people to do whatever is possible for open type blockchain. When people demand some clear-cut position, and so we do ICO, we are doing something else. No, this is the multitasking, the multi-purpose platform. This is not just about fiat or tokens or ICOs. Our platform is about everything. We'd like to embrace to cover all the user case. We'll have a separate direction related to, for instance, gaming. There was a special unit dealing with the gaming, because I do believe that Waves blockchain is clearly very interesting for the loyalty programs, for some gaming things, and this is what we're going to do. But we are going to deal with other things too, because there are lots of things to add. And we position Waves platform as a multi-purpose, multitasking platform, which covers the whole spectrum, the whole range of purposes. As for the smart contracts, our approach is about the following. We do not want to replicate the mistakes made by Ethereum, which is an excellent solution for prototyping. You may make a good prototypes based on Ethereum, but this is not very good for the production. So we'd like to issue smart contracts which are more efficient than Ethereum-based smart contracts in certain aspects. Because, for instance, smart contracts which may do everything ideally, actually, you cannot win over them. We cannot defeat them. But we have to somehow try to focus on the complete approach. This would demand the development, and the smart contracts which we offer, no one did it before us. This is not Turing. Smart contracts, they do not require gas, because they expire within a certain period of time. Gas is needed for Ethereum in order to limit the time running so that this does not go eternally. So you save up on gas, you save up on everything, and Ethereum actually is quite expensive in that case. It will not be the case for us. We are going to issue the smart contract system, which will cover most of the use cases of Ethereum, about 90%, but that does not require gas. It is protected against DDoS attacks from the very beginning. So we approach the problem by setting up the systems which do not have the vulnerabilities which were typical of the systems which were created before us. And all our solutions are unique. Waves NG, for instance, is unique. The centralized exchange is unique. Smart contracts are exchanged. No one did it before us, and we try to study these things and to move in the direction of the new projects which will become more efficient than what existed before us. Alexander? My name is Alexander Visarov from Bank Future project, and I'm keen to learn more about Vostok project. We are launching the Hyperledger Composer-based approach. We got the license from IBM, but what you actually said is very interesting because, for instance, Hyperledger actually is in contradiction with the Federal Law 93, meaning that we cannot store the private data of our clients, and there are certain applications from the pension fund, etc., etc. So the first question, who is the contact person from your team, and when the first release is expected? You may talk to the people who are dealing with Vostok. I may give you the contact data. Vostok is going to be localized. This is a global system now which may be localized and be in compliance with the local legislation. So we have the Federal Security Bureau, former KGB, which regulates all these issues related to encryption. And actually some of the elements of the system are working out on the Russian encryption. So on the one hand, this is a globalized system, but on the other hand, this is a localized system. This is a difference from Hyperledger. And we know that there are some issues related to the national cryptography, and it is not funny. It is not so simple, and the public standards for cryptography, they have some truth behind it. There may be some backdoors and whatever. Even the public algorithms may have it, so that's quite reasonable, how strange it may sound. These things have to be taken into consideration. This is what we do. This is what differs us from the existing projects, meaning that we really try not to impose certain rules, but really to implement a system which can be customized easily. But at the same time, the system would be globalized and exist within the global environment. Naturally, we take advantage of our Hyperledger experience, of Ripple experience, and take advantage of the experience of all the closed blockchain projects, and like to combine this experience with the open-type blockchains, which have very interesting economic features. It would be a combination of the openness and closed nature. It may give us a very good effect. Vostok release, some prototypes can be expected in summer, and it will be launched fully this year. Some cases will be implemented on Vostok, and something is already in the pipeline. This story is really huge, and we are just making the announcement that there are certain prototypes. We have understanding where to go. We have partners. And in fact, what you saw now, this is the first announcement of Vostok made in the public space, but we will disclose more details a bit later, because this is too premature. Alexander, my name is Denis. Congratulations on your birthday. A cool project. I am keeping track of you from the very beginning. I have the following question, which probably is different from other questions. So you are making progress very fast, developing very fast. You have a lot of ambitious projects. So what methodologies you are using within the Waves team, what you use for planning of the projects and tracing the results, the outcomes, some tools you can mention. We have to differentiate the back-end developments, the blockchain development, and the front-end development. Front-end is more transparent. This is where you may use the traditional Scrum-type technologies we try to use in the back-end. But when you do things which are unique, which no one has done before you, it is actually very difficult to use Scrum-type methodology. That's why the process is quite spontaneous. You have to be very flexible, and flexibility is clearly very important. Two chaotical markets combined with the unique product makes us do everything from scratch, so to say. You make some new sprints, and we try to do that in Scrum, and we failed, and that's why we use flexibility as our competitive edge. Alexander, good afternoon. Actually, we're looking forward to the launch of Vostok. Nice video, and so I wish you every success. My question is about Waves Laboratory. What kind of a project should be to apply for the Waves platform? Is it an idea? Is it a ready-made project? Or is it something working? And what you need in order to enter, to accede to that lab? Apply to us. We help all the initial projects with their consultancy, with advice, and more mature projects, actually, we help even with the investments. So there is no one-size-fits-all approach. Just apply to us, and you will get an answer. We'll study your project, and we'll try to help you. Alexander? Good evening. My name is Aras Selikian from Sosus company. We are keeping track of your project. Certainly, it is very interesting, very inspiring. One thing, I'm here. I have two questions. First is related to the fiat currency which could be bought at your platform. How are you going to develop the system? Because at the moment, I understand it officially it is not allowed. It is not allowed to buy cryptocurrency. And secondly, what about the competitors? Are you keeping track of your competitors, and what you think about Don by Pavel Durov? Let's start with Ton by Pavel Durov. Actually, it exploded the market a little bit. It is eruptive, and nothing negative, I may say, but some positive news is that actually tone could be a good story, and positive news is about showing that for blockchain you may draw $2 billion, and they're not going even to make a public ICO, which is cool. Such a story is quite interesting, and it shows that the whole blockchain world has reached a new level, and you should actually take into consideration the product called Telegram Messenger, which is a cool product. But Pavel Durov, with its project, showed us the new horizons where we can expand this crypto world. And of that alone, they have to be thanked. Alexander, this was your first question. I forgot your first question. About the fiat money, fiat currency. We have dollars and euro. And actually, they are not violating the legislation because people actually who support that they have certain license in the European Union. No legal issues, and the same is true of the Turkish lira. And there are some Turkish colleagues here, so they do not regulate this thing, so we do not violate any laws. In Russia, we are not launching any crypto ruble because, God forbid, we violate something, so we'll live and see. But eventually, actually, we'll launch crypto ruble, but whether we need crypto Russian ruble, probably we'll need it, but the concept is not yet clear. But we keep track of the situation, and our crypto ruble will be one of the first crypto rubles ever, that's for sure. Good afternoon, Alexander. My name is Roman Shershnya from the National Research Nuclear Institute. Thank you for your conference, for your presentation for that event. Thanks to you and to your WAVES team. I'd like to take advantage of this opportunity to invite you to our institute. Probably you can read a lecture or hold a seminar for us, but my question is as follows. WAVES actually is going to launch the voting system. Can you tell us more about that? Will it be something unique? Or it would be a standardized solution just like the one Kaspersky offers? Or you are doing some research into that issue? Probably you are not just making the score, but you are developing the whole mechanism of voting. Actually, we are going to launch the voting system, which is actually quite simple. It will be based on blockchain, but I'm personally interested in the development of the blockchain-based voting systems. I do think this is one of the important use cases which, along with cryptocurrency, will enrich all of us. We are communicating to the scientists involved in the voting systems, and we will end up with something good. WAVES platform is going to launch a very simple voting system at the moment, which will allow you to actually vote for the ICO projects. For instance, we have WAVES community token, which was claimed as the token for voting. It exists, and actually we have to do that because we promised to do that. But then we're going to develop the voting systems, the ones which could be used for enterprise, for instance, for voting of Gazprom shareholders when they have to vote transparently, efficiently, and be sure that there is no cheating, no swindling. And blockchain can do that. Blockchain-based voting has certain problems, but they can be addressed, they can be fixed. And the implementation of these solutions depends on the political will. So if actually a decision is taken in favor of blockchain-based voting, then we'll do that. Thank you. My question. You say that there are utility tokens and security and equity tokens. If you are trading that based on WAVES, how are you going to regulate that? Because this is a decentralized exchange, and security token cannot be traded there. I do think that something is there. I actually do not know all the tokens based on WAVES. WAVES actually is second only to Ethereum in terms of the total amount drawn to ICO. Sadly, there is a big gap between us and Ethereum, but we have equity tokens and other tokens there. For instance, Magnitogorsk steel mill actually have their tokens too, and probably they have revisited their scheme, and they are more in favor of the utility token. But as for the security tokens, actually just read the draft law on crowdfunding proposed by the finance ministry. Actually, it is a real breakthrough, because in essence the whole traditional IPO world will be replaced with the ICO. If it really happens, it will be just great. So these are the visionaries who drafted this law probably. Are you going to stay in the Russian jurisdiction? Yes, we are in a national project, but based in Moscow. We're an international project based in Moscow. Alexander, can you tell us in more detail about private blockchain? In what sectors are you going to implement it? Can you give us more details, not just some abstract ideas, more in specific cases? For instance, real estate, automobile, building. These would be just distributed registers, which will replace the centralized ones, and the register actually will include all the data attributable to patents, to real estate, to licenses, etc. This is first case. Second case is about the payments. And it should be realized that our blockchain can be used in order to make something similar to SWIFT, to bank transfers. Second thing, this is the interbanking smart contracts systems. Third case is notary confirmation, and a lot can be done based on the closed blockchain. Most interesting thing is about the payments and registers. This is what should be done first and foremost, and secondly, this is about the voting systems. It can be based on the blockchain, and actually it can be an enterprise type solutions which will be implemented at the level of the ministries and departments. We're not speaking about ICOs or startups. This is about serious enterprise systems which can be using blockchain-based technologies right now.
Good evening, Thank you so much for your presentation, and all the best for you and for the Waves teams. Actually, I have two questions. First question, I want to know your opinion about, do you think that artificial intelligence methods, or let's say machine learning methods, would be effective on a cryptocurrency market? And the second question is, we are waiting for the Graffiti platform, and for what do you think that it will make better than Solidity?
Which platform?
The Gravity, your smart contract.
Yeah, it's going to be called Right. Right. It's not Gravity. It's Right.
Oh,
right.
okay, Right. So what do you think that it will
and
make?
We have like Right is non-Turing complete, and Right on is Turing complete. По поводу искусственного интеллекта.
About the artificial intelligence and the trading. Sadly, people are using robots, and machine learning actually is being used, and neural networks are being used, and the cryptocurrency for an experienced trader, this is a kind of a paradise, because their methods are very sophisticated. Machine learning works very well, and artificial intelligence actually is used very well at the cryptocurrency market. And as for the smart contracts, actually, on the testnet, they will be available in April, and actual developers are present here at this party. You can talk to them, and in July we'll launch that at the mainnet. Good evening, Alexander. I'm from Sosos company. Can you tell me, online clients, web interface, can we expect some extra tools for security? Yes, multi-sig, factorization. We are looking forward to the launch of smart contracts in order to make an efficient multi-sig. And it will be a two-factor authorization, meaning that we'll have to introduce, to type in the second password in order to transfer money. Alexander, Roman Korolev from Norway.ru. 5 months have passed since our last meeting, and we discussed that there will be more transactions based on waves. And over the 5 months, actually, number of transactions went up, but not actually making the nodes working more efficiently. And most of the requests which you get from certain projects or applications, especially the gaming ones, this is just about paying the commission with your own tokens. I'm very much against that because actually I'm more interested in supporting the platform so that the commission is being paid by waves, not in the tokens issued by the same company. The question is, probably we can arrange for some events for the people, kind of developers, or those who are interested in integrating blockchain into their own business, into their ready-made products, so for their own needs. For instance, because once we launch Vostok, this is an enterprise-based decision. And generally speaking, this is an open-type solution. And actually, I think that it almost has no future. I do not see the scenario you have disclosed that actually the closed blockchain will support the open blockchain and vice versa. You told us about the GHOST standards or the public standards, and that's good, but what nodes have to do? Well, you see, it will not be convergence, it will be just one system, one single system. Some will actually launch Vostok-based projects, others will launch the other type of the projects, and they will be mutually supporting. So, for instance, during complete smart contracts will be actually launched based on Vostok, and actually then will be moved to the waves. We see some synergy there. And there is some business advantage about that, because we're going to drive both projects to boost their capitalization. And Vostok is going to support waves. This is our main objective, because we have certain understanding that there is a demand for such systems, and in essence, we would like to actually, where this idea comes from, we would like to wanted to develop an integrator for the blockchain solutions, because we have a lot of projects. We see a lot of interest from big business. We'd like to develop an integrator, and apart from the integrator, which is going to be part of Vostok, because all the integrations of the Vostok system will be free for a year or for 2 years. We'll do that for free in order to promote the product itself. But it became obvious that it can be done within a certain system, which would be based on the previous version. We have the waves experience, where everything is working, everything is tested, but at the same time it will enrich it with some new solutions, which could be done simpler at the closed blockchain and then can be moved to the open blockchain. As for the smart contracts, we are working on that. The economic features have to be taken into consideration, but the dependency is not linear. A moment will come when we will make a real leap, and this will happen. This will happen very soon. Thank you. Thank you. Dmitry Ansimov from KNC company. We said that actually Waves is number 2, or we're second only to Ethereum in terms of the ICOs, and there are a lot of other platforms which are moving in that direction. What is your target in this market? Well, ICO market is not our target, because the regulation is clearly very important, but we are participating in that market because we have a Swiss association on tokenization, which invites more stakeholders, more players, which set standards for that. We're dealing with them. In terms of the ICO, we'd like to set certain standards, certain guidelines, which will help people to stick to the law and still do the ICO. This is where we're going to develop the ICO. We're not interested in just doing ICO for the sake of ICOs, so that people issue tokens and sell that to hamsters and just reap all the benefits and disappear. So look at what is going on in Russia, and for how many projects this ICO world has become a springboard and allowed to draw money in these cases, in the situations where people couldn't find any other source of investment. This is a quite attractive story, but you have to systematize to help people understand that once they invest into the token, then this token, for instance, is issued by certain people, that it will grow in terms of the price, and that there are certain clear rules regulating everything. You have to do the same thing as the regulators do for dozens of years, or even for hundreds of years. They are protecting the interests of the investors. This is what you have to do there, protect the investors. Alexander, good afternoon. Or evening. I would like to congratulate you. Apex Tech Company. I have a very pragmatic question. I'm a holder of one of your tokens. You answered the question about the further cooperation with the government, and you said that you will be one of the main stakeholders, main players in this market. Will your company be officially supported by the Russian government as an official site, as an official market? Because for the Russian mentality, this is clearly very important. We do not have the same patriotism as in Asia, because, for instance, ICANN has been supported by all the Koreans. This is an official platform. We actually are doing a lot about that, and the situation developing the way it is going on right now, we will be an accredited, a certified platform in Russia, but we're not going to be the only platform. This is not the right way to go, and this contradicts the whole market of blockchain technologies in general, the whole concept of the blockchain. Will be one of the platforms, and the market will show who is going to win. But if you see the regulation there, eventually we will certainly be subordinated. That regulation will be an official platform, which is going to exist in the Russian Federation and be regulated. Alexander Kashukharov. Bit news. Surprised to see so many people there in this room. I have the following question. Thank you so much for the opportunity to implement a single language for the cryptocurrency people. Thank you so much. If it were not for your platform, actually, I couldn't do this project. What technical solutions you are going to offer to the state, to the government, and what process could be optimized in the power sector? What can be replaced with shares? How can we facilitate the process of, so to say, how can you, for instance, replace the money and improve the economy? Probably the government turned to you with certain propositions. We have something to propose to the government. How far you see your future? We are dealing with all the public structures, with all the authorities, everyone who is interested in the blockchain technology. So some prototypes have been implemented. At the moment, we have an understanding that certain institutions are not ready for the launch of such projects. So we have only prototypes, but some real projects will be launched in the short run. We're not so much interested in the prototypes, and blockchain can change everything. We see that it is an adaptive technology. It has made a revolution of the bank transfers and payments and venture investments. So venture investments will not be as it used to be. It has moved to a new stage. We cannot imagine the investments into the startups without blockchains. No one could think about that even 3-4 years ago. This is only the beginning. efficient registers are important when you cannot alter the data or change the data. This is clearly important for the business purposes. Payments, which are decentralized, this is clearly very important for Russia for the clear reasons. The political situation in the world is so hard. You may imagine different scenarios. So, for instance, SWIFT system and the threat that Russia can be switched off from the SWIFT system. There can be some redundancy system. And there are some ideas for a small number of business cases. 5 directions which may optimize the processes in the economy. For instance, security market can be based on blockchain payments, registers, the voting system. What else? I can mention tokenization. If you look at Alpetro, this is a very controversial project, but in essence, probably it will set a trend when people are going to tokenize certain resources which have not been mined, which cannot been produced, such as gas or oil, and it may change the oil and gas market or the commodity market in general. That will be just cool. Thank you. I wish you every success and goodbye. Good afternoon, my name is Ivan. Couple of words to follow up the previous question. Don't you think that, for instance, the loyalty system, I thought that in your presentation you mentioned the loyalty system. Can tokenization of loyalty systems become a bridge to retail, bridge to the real economy? Yes, certainly that's very much possible. And that's very interesting from the standpoint of blockchain, because this is an ideal use case for the blockchain. Just you make a more transparent system. Token is pegged, is tied to discounts. For instance, such a loyalty system was launched by Burger King. But I communicated to dozens of startups which dealt with the loyalty systems, and very few of them would be somehow successful. So the idea is clear. You can make certain networks of businesses which actually could be merged around certain ideas, and loyalty along with gaming, this is our next step for the use of blockchain, and certain loyalty programs would be based on waves too. So what happened to Burger King? Burger King, what happened to them? So this loyalty system is no longer there. This was a prototype, and actually the time is ripe to launch some enterprise products. So what they did, it was just a prototype. 2018, this is when you can expect major, serious enterprise-level systems which are going to be based on blockchain. It is only beginning at the moment. So what you saw before, actually it was just nothing. In your previous interviews and on TV, I read that you actually conferred in the auditors from the Big Four, such as PricewaterhouseCoopers, etc. So can we actually really make an audit, a serious audit of blockchain-based projects? Actually, Deloitte is our official partner. So why not making an audit for the blockchain-based project, actually? We have an idea of setting up a Swiss association to set some guidelines and quality standards for the ICOs, and it would be an advisory board which will look at all the ICOs and give certain recommendations and assign a quality sign to good ICOs. Actually, it all replicates the IPO system. And actually, I think that we are going to reach a new level, but the whole rationale is a little bit different. The auditors will emerge, and the market will be regulated. This is for sure. Alexander, I don't think that we have a lot of questions, but I suggest that other questions could be moved to the third part of our event, which is clearly very important. That it is important not only for us, but for everyone present. This is what we call a networking. So I suggest that the Q&A session just completes, and let's move to the next part of our session. So let us give a hand to Alexander. Let us thank Alexander. We are not calling it a day. This is not all, because now we are moving to the awards giving ceremony. After that, we will make a draw, when actually you will have to actually use your wallets to scan the barcodes, and you would get immediately 500 waves. So this is a very valuable competition. We have an online broadcasting. People from all the world actually are watching us, and guys from Palermo offer paying some waves for Alexander's T-shirt. So you may sit and agreement with Alexander. He will give you his T-shirt, and you may sell that for certain waves. Okay, give me the clicker. Why this is the awards-giving ceremony? Because we are celebrating the birthday, and we'll get some gifts, probably, as becomes the birthday. Our best present is that you have come, but we'd like to give certain awards to the people without whom the success we can boast cannot be possible. And this is true of all of you. Without you, it won't be possible. I'm not speaking about the team, the 70 people strong team, but we are speaking about other people who help us, people from all over the world. And so the awards-giving ceremony will actually split into 5 nominations. So the Best Community Ambassador. The prize goes to, give me the envelope. This is a person who built a local community, and this is the biggest local community outside the solar system. Can you guess the figure? How hundreds or thousands of people are there in this local community? Just 6,000 people. Well, that's very close. Yes, 6,018. So this person alone, on the other side of the world, actually brought together 6,000 people for the local community. I'm inviting the person from the country where Russian is not spoken, and Sasha will announce him.
On your success. Irlan, Pierre, where are you? Please. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Раз. Быстро второй в номинации это Best
The second
Media.
nomination, that's Best Media.
Ирлан,
Irlan?
что сказать?
I'm very happy and surprised and stay here. Thank you.
Thank you. Давайте я переведу. Ирлан сказал, что он очень...
Irlan said that he's very happy to come here without any faults, and he likes to do community waves in Brazil. 6,000 people, and actually he said many other things, but thank you so much.
Следующая номинация это
Next nomination, this is the Best Media.
Так случилось, что все, что
It happens so that what is related to cryptocurrency is dealing with the media too. Probably you know some of the crypto media and the blockchain media which are crucial for the world. Do you know any crypto media or blockchain media? Anyone raise your hand? Tell us something. Vedomosti, this is the official Russian paper. Are you reading any crypto blockchain media? How do you call it?
Forklog.
4 o'clock.
Так, о, еще.
Тоже еще. Конечно,
Еще.
forklog.
Certainly 4 o'clock.
Здесь нет других вариантов. Все знают forklog.
Собственно
Everyone
говоря,
knows 4 o'clock.
Поэтому давай позовем forklog. Не будем
So
мучить
let
людей,
us
потому что
call
Россия
4
есть
o'clock.
лидирующий криптомедиа.
Because this is the leading
план, которого мы знаем давно, любим, ценим.
media,
Здесь есть
which
Таня.
we value very
Таня,
much.
естественно, которую мы
Tatiana,
любим и ценим еще
Tatiana,
больше.
we
Она только
love
что
you so
убежала.
much.
Ну, собственно
She
говоря, мы
just has
поздравляем
left.
Forklog,
But
нашего
we
медиапартнера.
congratulate
Вручим
our
обязательно
media partner,
подарок,
4
когда
o'clock,
Таня вернется.
and we'll give
Есть еще
the
одна
award a bit later.
номинация.
There is another nomination.
Мы хотели наградить человека,
We
которого мы
wanted to
называем
give
best
an award
advisor,
to a
это
person
лучший
who we call the
советник.
best
Человек,
advisor,
который выигрывал
a
блокчейн
person
хакатоны,
who
который работает
won
с крупнейшими
blockchain
компаниями,
hackathon, who works with the biggest
человек,
companies,
который
a
с нами
person
уже
who
давно
is with
помогает
us
нам
for a
развивать
number
Waves в
of
разных
months,
регионах,
who helps us
от
to develop
Кореи,
the waves
Азии до
everywhere
Америки.
from
И она совершенно не знает,
Korea
что мы
to
сейчас
the
скажем про
United
нее.
States.
Давай посмотрим,
I'm not sure what
кто
we
же
are going
это
to tell
best
about
advisor.
her. So the best advisor is...
To invite here our-
Я хотел бы пригласить...
Yusil, because she is really great. She's like
Исиль чё? Человек, которого...
This is our international partner. Let us give a hand to Yusil.
Great girl, and you're doing so much. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you. Here you go. It's for you. It's heavy.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Я не буду переводить это тоже.
I will not translate that. And the last but not least, no, there will be one more nomination. The best partner. Partner is another important part of our work, of our platform, because without partners, we will not make such a huge progress. We'd like to invite to this podium a person who is an entrepreneur and who did a lot for us, but at a different country. This is a person from Turkey. Who is he? It was a hint for the person to get prepared.
Please come here.
Это турецкая лира, это Gateway.
Turkish Lira Gateway.
For being with us, for all your input. And this guy launched crypto lira because we couldn't launch crypto ruble, so this guy launched crypto lira in Turkey. Он запустил криптолиру.
He launched crypto Turkish Lira, and he did it almost alone. Thank you so much. Give us a hand. And the last but not least nomination, again, nodes. These are people who support the whole network. I would like to praise the best node. We know that these people are there. Finally, they have come to us. Just one node, but now we'd like to thank all the nodes which we have. But these are the guys who support Waves platform from the very outset. People who help us to develop our office in Amsterdam.
Weg en Rob van de Kamp. Ребята с Амстердама.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Ну и по старой доброй традиции.
Well, let us follow the tradition. So 15 minutes long speech.
Yeah, yeah, it was quite an interesting 2 years, and we're hopeful to continue it for at least 2 years from now. So, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Спасибо большое.
Thank you so much. A very brief awards ceremony. Oh, Tatiana has come. So let us give the prize to Tatiana from Forklog, our media partner. Tatiana from Forklog. Forklog is a real tough and cool media partner. We know them for quite a while. So there were different stages of their development, but I do think that They are very interesting for the cryptocurrency and for the media market too. But actually they have even brighter future. Thank you for writing about waves. And this is all we have to award. And now we have a lottery. So 3 QR codes, and you will have to scan them from your wallet and get immediately 500 waves. Just let me take a picture from here. Probably I can do that faster than you do. Okay, are you ready? Ready for scanning? So let's speed up. 3, 2, 1. 3 QR codes and 500 waves for everyone. $2,000. Something not to waste. Is anyone who got 500 waves already? Raise your hand, please. Number 1. We have a decentralized system, so everything is very, very efficient. So, not necessarily have to admit that, so, but raise your hand and we'll give you a hand. Everything is fair and honest. We'll see that on the blockchain. No problem. 5 seconds more. I assume that if people are not shouting, probably everything is okay. Boy, did you manage to do that? No? No, you failed? Doesn't work, so it means it's been downloaded already. Try another QR code, and you will see how it all works, because within a second you will get 500 waves for your wallet. And this is just an example of how fast Waves NG works. Okay, do more scanning and so on. If not, actually, you can spend the whole evening scanning. Probably you're lucky. And you can scan all the 3 of them. Probably some fork will happen. That's it, Ian. If not, actually, I will scan the QR codes myself. I just think that, so let us give a hand to the winners. They decided to become anonymous. But for those who didn't manage to do that, and I see some disappointed faces, there will be one more contest, and it is very fair and just. The terms of the contest use these Telegram or Twitter links, and these are bots which will help you to win everything. We love such contests, so let us do that together. In essence, our official part is over, but there is another very important part. We have prepared our team there. They all dressed in the branded T-shirts, just like the one Sasha is wearing, and they are ready to take any questions, tell you everything about what you want, but so they fall in the legislation. And networking is a very important part of our work. Drinks and beverages and snacks are all available. So let us thank Alexander. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. So let's shift to networking, so we do not go anywhere.